Yeah, I would like to take some time and welcome Dave, Laurentio, and Alexandra. Thank you for joining this discussion. And today's topic, we had the value of spiritual community. And I believe every one of us have their own piece to share today because what Surya has shared in the surveys, we have resonated the same. Like I could resonate, exactly how, I was searching for God and I was looking for, where I can find the truth of God, where I can really get the knowledge and grow into the wisdom. And then I eventually met Jeff and Shaleia through YouTube, and get into deeper into this community. And specifically, I would, moving ahead, I would like to discuss with all of you how you feel about the divine relationship and your relationship and experiences with your spiritual community. Who would like to start?
We're gonna go first.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, well, divine relationships and
Yeah, spiritual community, I feel like, yeah, of course, like we resonate a lot with what Soraya shared, like in the sermon, and how I feel like both of us have been seeking, a deeper relationship with God, and how what really struck me from like what Soraya said when she kind of started to notice like this pattern within like her like Christian community, because I'm also like Christian and a different type of Christian, but still like Christian. Yeah, I started to also like from a very like young age, I had like this very like, conflicting kind of like things that people would say. And for example, one of the things that, really threw me off in like my own spiritual journey was like, well, God loves you, but you should fear God. That was like the only thing that, I was like, but how, as a young child, that I was learning about God and I was learning my prayers and all of that. This was like something that I just couldn't understand. It couldn't like sit, it didn't sit well into my heart at all, right? And that was like the first ever like discrepancy, that, nobody ever was able to explain to me like why I should fear God, because I was asking, how children are, that they ask like why a lot, I was
Yeah.
that type of children,
Yes.
child, but I
Yes.
was asking, but why, but why, and at some point like people would just like couldn't like share with me, that insight, why should I fear God? Right. So therefore, um, because of that, I felt, very, weird in kind of like exploring a relationship with God, because I just didn't understand, and so I shared how you cannot see love from the lens of fear, right? And this
Yeah.
was exactly what was happening in that particular situation in my own, spiritual journey, and, um, being part of like a spiritual community, because like the first spiritual community that I experienced actually was my own family, right? In my
Right.
family, they were teaching me about like religion, about God. They were teaching me the prayers, and how I should like pray to God and like have a relationship with God, so in this first like ever spiritual community that I had, which was like my family, I couldn't just see that, right? I couldn't like go deeper, right? And I thought at some point, like with priests and like with, people of people that have studied, like religion and the Bible and all of that, but still like something felt like off. I could understand kind of like logically what they were like presenting to me, but I think like that lens of fear was still kind of like present, and I feel
Yeah.
like throughout like my whole, journey, I was looking to see or to feel, how is it to not have that lens of fear, is it possible to see God without, fear? I was seeking deeply that spiritual community where I could experience God to just be loving, right? Because until now it was like God and fear kind of like in the same pot, and I just
Yeah.
couldn't like comprehend, right? And I feel like after kind of breaking off a little bit from Christianity and just going into like just kind of new age spiritual communities, there was still kind of this like, talking with the universe and everything is so amazing, but there are the dark forces, or like, the shadows that you should like, fear something, There was always like this concept, that I couldn't just shake off, it's like, no, like this doesn't feel good. Right. And yeah, I feel like when, I found like Jeff and Shaleia and, first it's just like Twin Flames universe and then unionism was born out of that. I felt, like I found it, like that place where the lens of fear doesn't exist, and this is something that I deeply appreciate about unionism and how you shared, like, like Soraya is like a Christian, but also a unionist, and how, not you, I think like Danny and Christina shared at the end, how amazing it is like to be able to be like a Christian unionist, or maybe like a Muslim unionist, or like a Hindi unionist, and I feel like this is why, this is possible here, because we are just letting go of that lens of fear, that lens of like separation, so we can see love in all, right? And this is why I felt like this is what draw me in, into like this community. Yeah.
Yep.
How it was for you?
Well, for me was I wasn't really so much into religion. I was like when I grew up, like I went to church, but I always like went outside of the church, just play with the kids there, and then someone was telling us, "Hey, don't be loud," or things like this, and and I was doing my best to be there, but I was never interested in it. It never like appealed to me. It wasn't something that really made me feel, yes, this is something beautiful. I could see some things, but never like
all the children, like I feel like were very like turned off about like this lens and fear, because children don't, and we were like children, I think like we were like laughing in the church, and we were like everybody was like scolded, like don't laugh in the church, it was like all of that things that we were going on, at least like in our situation, right?
And for me, like as I continued, I like started to get more into psychology and getting into that, learning about the mind, learning about how things work in that way. So understanding much more. Like I was searching for myself, but of course I was searching for God in that. But because like in my journey, like the way it was that I got into such a place that really, like as everyone really pushed it in this way to search for something, to search for like people to discuss about this, because I didn't have with anyone to discuss about my feelings, about what I was going through, to someone to understand. Because actually, like even at school, like the first time I was able to open up a bit more was when I was sent to the psychologist of the school or something like this, and like you go to the desk and then you speak with them. But even then they couldn't really get me. They could like they helped me a bit just to remember and go through it, so it's much easier for me, but not really move through it, and really like help me to just have a conversation with someone that really understands me. And as I kept searching for myself, because I searched psychology, learned for myself, there was still not the thing that I wanted. Then I went deeper, tried different things. I searched for different spiritual communities. Still not the exact thing that I was searching, because there was still something missing wherever I was going. Because like I went in a community afterwards, like after I started learning more about spirituality, about let's say yoga, and I went there, still like I needed something more. Like I went, there was a community of like healing with past lives. Like I went there, let's see, but even those people couldn't understand fully me, couldn't really understand the way things are, like in a very easy and fun way, and like the more I was going, because like let's say for that community specifically, there was this thing like they were going in that space and then they were just living in that space rather than living on earth and here, so there was too much on one side. And nowhere that I went was like this grounded, this like understanding and logical aspect of everything that's happening around us.
Yeah, yeah,
And I can see how like this some that I searched how to be here. I don't want it to just like, okay, be out of here. Just want to be
yeah,
here on earth
yeah.
and live my life. And on this search, like, yeah, like like for us, like we got together and then like we found the community. And once we found the community, we're like, we're home.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, truly. Yeah, what Alexandra shared, I resonated a lot. Like when I used to ask my mother why, whenever she used to present something that was based in fear, she never had the answer. And I was always into curiosity. Every day in I belong to Hindu culture, right? So every day in Hindu culture, whether they understand or they don't, they will go through the mythology books. They will just read through it. That's a practice. I agree that it's a practice, but to a deeper extent, if you just read the words and do not receive anything and do not reciprocate, so there is no meaning to that. So I just remember, one day she was just, carrying, water to worship the god. I just came and hugged her from behind. And she literally, threw out that water outside. And she just explained that when you are taking water to God, if nobody should touch her. I never understood the concept yet, and she just like, because you touched me, so I have to throw it out and then I have to do it all the thing. And I could not understand, why that thing happened. And but she was like, God is not going to be receptive. God does not like this kind of practice where you are like, touching and mixing all this thing. If only the person who is going to worship should be, isolated and do everything. So I could never understand, why would God do that. Like why would God going to not receive the water because a child just hugged a mother. So I could never understood, and then I just got the fear because mother is scolding me, then I should not do that, rather than what is the truth of God. And exactly from this community, and specifically from Jeff, what I received is why. Like whenever the God is presented to us, there is a logical reason why, for everything why, and in a way that I can receive and apply in my life. you know so that really helped me to get into the community. And yeah, I would like to hear from Dave, how was your experience and what came up for you through this service.
Oh, well, for me, it brought up a lot. And of course, as I was sharing with you a little bit beforehand, um, every time that I hear one of these sermons and people start to recollect their whole journey, it brings up different stuff here and there in my own journey as well. I come from a Jewish family, not a very orthodox nor practicant, though my dad was very much into trying to respect as much as possible the tradition. And like many of us in this community, my quest kind of like started when I was like, there has to be more than this. For Jewish communities, it tends to be very enclosed. And I don't know if this has to do with their whole background on being chased from pretty much everywhere they were, but I remember that again, I was 12 or 13 and something didn't quite fit in. And I was like, nope, I could go on a high school that is also Jewish. And I was like, no, I'm gonna open myself up and see what else is there in the world. I wanted to, again, like find God in my own way. And as you, Alex, was sharing, I remember something that I was like, I'm going to bring it up even if it doesn't sound remotely related to, but I live in Argentina, and this is a country that feels very passionately about football or soccer, as you know it.
Mm-hmm.
And at a very young age, I was already noticing this, I don't know if you call it a pattern, but people really creating a lot of differences where there are none, and kind of like sucking the fun out of stuff. And I just like kind of took note of that now, how this I will see it when I went to the university and I studied art history. So throughout the story of humans, most of culture comes from the religion. And so I started to see again like those cracks, people kind of like separating from each other in their own ways to explain God, never really finding or seeing that at the heart of it, the message is always the same.
Yeah.
So in this almost 20-year quest, in my 20-year search for God, of course, I found my twin flame and I met this community. And it took me a while until I realized what I have found. At first, I thought it was just a Facebook group where you can talk about twin flames. And after a couple of months of inner work, I started to realize that this was a spiritual community I've been claiming since I was a teenager. A place where you can come from whatever path of life you come from and still find something in common with other people who are seekers as you are, in a sense. We are all here because we are all seeking God in one way or another. The fact that you come from India and you have very specific background with such rich and ancient culture, the fact that Alex comes from a Christian background and Lau more from a scientific background with psychology and stuff like that, and me coming kind of like from a Jewish background, and we can still speak the same language, we can still learn the message, we can still see the same thing behind what is being said.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like the moment I realized I have found like my place, I started tearing up, of course. It's like I'm finally in a place where I am understood, where I'm not longer the black sheep for thinking outside the box,
Yeah.
or for asking these questions like, okay, why? And like I remember reading the Torah, and God was a very frightening dude, and something didn't add up. So that's in a nutshell a little bit my experience and how I found this community. And like, I don't know, it's like grateful for it every second. Even if I'm going through an upset, I know that people are like, understand what I'm going through, and they know
Yes.
how to point me in the right direction. And it doesn't matter whether I come from, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter where you come from, as long as you are here for God and you're choosing to heal and align yourself with love. That's all that it's requested from you. That's all that is being asked from you. So I was like resonating with that thing that if you cannot see love from the eyes of fear, you simply can't. That the idea of God doesn't fit in that equation if you see it from the eyes of fear.
Yeah.
And fear, sadly, is very rooted in most of the studies or teachings, or even the readings that have been made from religious books or like biblical books. So yeah. And something that I also liked, I took notes, so I'm kind of like looking over, is one thing that Shaleia was sharing is that there are no limits in the experiences of God. And I felt like that is a gem also.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
really,
Even I
there are
liked.
many things. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Sorry. The moment you shared that, I really liked the statement she shared. The truth is simple, but it's infinitely profound. It's really very beautiful. Yeah. It's exactly like the teaching of unionism. This teaching that is coming from Jeff and Shaleia, it is in a way directly coming from God, that we can see here that every one of us is receiving it in the same way, right? We could not receive the same from the religion that we are born from, but here we are able to receive God, because we have always desired the truth. We have always tried to desire and see what God is, and that's what we received here in this community. And again, it's just a matter of choice to heal and move forward and ascend towards God. Yeah, I really like that.
Yeah, it came to me when you were speaking. It's a community where God speaks to you in your own language and you are still being received.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Even that sense that I will be received, even if like I will be loved. If I'm making anything that is not in alignment, I'll be guided to do, guided to make a choice, that feels safe to do that. And even the she also shared, like I recognize divine in you, and you recognize divine in me, and this is how we choose to heal and grow together, right? That is why the relationship that we are building in this community is not feeling like, after some time, okay, I'm fed up of this. No, we are only growing each other, and we are growing with each other, and we are growing also for ourselves in our, on our ascension also. So yes, and when we are, deeply rooted in the love, in the relationship that we have for each other, that is the foundation for the growth. Yeah. So how have been your relationship with this community?
Yeah, it's beautiful. And I think like the key element here, like why like this community and why the relationships here are so juicy, and
Yeah.
it's because like we have all, like as you said, like Madhu, you in your own way have experienced that lens of fear, and
Yeah.
you, Deb, as well have experienced that lens of fear, but we chose like to see through lens of love, and I think like this is the difference here, that we chose to see through lens of love. And even if we choose to see through lens of love and we look at fear, well, fear doesn't exist through the lens of love, so therefore we only see love. And I think like that's beautiful, and that's what makes, like the relationships in this community like so, divine and juicy, because we put, God first, and we put, love first. And this is like the commandments of humanist, and put yourself first as well, right? It's put God first and love yourself. Yes. So as long as you follow these like two like commandments, of course you're going to be like fully like accepted here and loved, no matter where you are, where are you coming from, what you're doing, what you believe or you don't believe in. This is it, right? And I know, like, I really love, how Soraya said about like you cannot outgrow this community and these relationships. And I would really love to share, about my personal like relationship with Soraya, because Soraya has been not the first like discussion group leader that we experienced, but I think like the second
yeah.
where like we really had like a more stable discussion group where we were, and we've been like part of it for quite some time. And I just remember those moments and how beautiful it was, like to connect in that space and just to talk about our twin flame journey, to talk about like, what we were healing through, to talk about, things that we couldn't talk anywhere else, right? And I think like this is what's truly beautiful, to kind of be able to share that intimate part of yourself that you feel like you at the moment you cannot share anywhere else.
Yeah.
And even if, like, for example, right now I don't have, like, I don't talk with Soraya every day, I still love Soraya. And, we see each other on the halls of the church, as we say in the Church of Union here, we're volunteers, so therefore we see each other around, and we always love each other. And just because right now we are in a space where we, don't talk with each other all the day, it doesn't mean that, our love or like our respect for one another has diminished. It's just that our relationship transformed. And as you see, we still hold the same values because we are in the same church. We're walking the same halls together, right? And that's really, really beautiful. And, maybe there's going to be a time where, we're going to, well, it kind of has been a time where, during the like autumn raffle, Soraya is like was like a leader in that movement, and I think like she still leads some projects going on in the Church of Union. So therefore, I have interacted a little bit with her in that sense, right? So God brought us together again in another way, and in another, our relationship just transformed, and I think like that was beautiful. And there wasn't a moment of outgrowth, right? It was just like a moment of transformation, of change. And I really enjoy how in this community change is so embraced and accepted, and it's like normal, right? And this exploration that all of us are going through, to find God, to find ourselves, to come into harmonious union, it's safe to change into that. You have like the room and the, just the spiritual support in this community to be able to go through, the places in your consciousness where you wouldn't feel safe otherwise to go to, and just heal there. So
Yeah. Specifically like the relationship that you have created or even I have created, these are grounded in love. That's why we don't have to take effort every day to take care whether does she remember me, does he remember me, or he is upset with me. We are not bothered, we are just relaxed into those relationships because we have built the relationship with God. The foundation is God. And that's why we can only grow because we have a solid foundation that is build in love and respect for each other. Yeah, that's what it is, and that's why it is growing only. Yeah.
Yeah, and it grows naturally with it. Like every
Yeah.
relationship you have, even if you are having an upset with someone in the community, you still work it through, and everything like everyone understands that the implicit is saying, oh, they were having an upset.
Yeah.
And you they either came close to you and helped you move through it, or they like stayed aside and respected, honored your boundaries, or like, no, I don't want to do anything with you right now. I don't like you. So that's okay, work through it, and where to find me. Like, we are always going to remain here as long as we are aligning with love, regardless what it's happening within you. You always know that once you get through that, you are still going to find any one of us.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like recapping on my experiences as well, where I have like grown closer or farther from certain people, but it doesn't mean that those relationships are lost. They are just evolving in a different way. And I know that, for instance, sometimes for me, it's letting the expectations go, because I am used to having relationships in the old paradigm,
Yeah.
and that doesn't quite apply here. But yeah, like Lau knows me in my temper tantrum moments. Most of the community knows my temper tantrum, and they still hold space until I work through it and everything goes back to peace.
Can I share just something about this?
Yeah,
I,
sure.
I don't think I remember your temper tantrum because we heal. When we heal, we don't even think about it. You
Yeah,
remember?
because you don't hold on to it. Exactly.
Exactly.
Beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. You don't really see it as I
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah.
and this is the beauty of having a spiritual community as this one. And as like Alex was saying, when you see through the eyes of love, then you don't see fear, and you don't see like at most it's an upset, it's a misalignment, it's a miscommunication between you and God, and you will find that there's always someone willing to grab you by the hand and walk you through it.
Yeah.
So like it keeps pointing me back to the fact, and I was remembering this a few days ago, like God was reminding me, you asked for a place where you felt understood in this deep way, and you found it. I never thought I would have found it in a Facebook group, but thank God for the internet, because now we get to come from all the corners of the world and like find that I think it's a desire that most of us have very deep down, is to find a place where you feel like you are unconditionally accepted.
Yeah.
And this was like my desire since I was again a teenager. I even remember a friend of mine who's like a brother to me. When I was 18, we were at a party, and I remember him turning around, like we were in a corner, and the two of us got talking. The rest of the world didn't matter. And he was like, you know what? I kind of I have like this tendency. I can read people, like people's energies. And I was like, what? It's like, you see this guy over there? He's looking for this, and that. And and he turns around to me. You are looking for someone who accepts you unconditionally. And at the moment, of course, I kind of loved him and hate him at the same time for kind of like unraveling something very deep and intimate. But he was right. He was absolutely right. And even if I'm on the process of learning how to do that for myself, I found a place who knows how to hold space till I get there, or while I walk through it. So to me, like having a spiritual community such as this one, in my short experience, because like now when we were to go to temple, I was like I didn't quite relate. We would go there after school because the school had a little temple right next to it. It was a very small school within the compounds of the Jewish community. And I was like, why do I have to sit here and be told that God is going to punish me? Like if I go left, God is going to punish me. And if I go right, God is going to punish me. And punish. Like, doesn't make sense. Like, why would someone create all of this only so that it can punish it? It doesn't correlate. And I would sometimes kind of like sneak off temple and kind of like stay with the kids in the little kind of like backyard schoolhouse because I didn't want to listen to that. Like, why would I give my time to such thing? And I was like, there has to be something else. There has to be more than this.
Yeah.
And of course, there was more than this.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Alexandra, you have anything? Any piece coming here?
I have the piece.
Oh,
Don't
go
ask me
ahead.
about the piece. The piece is like in this community, we don't really care about fear. We don't really care about upsets. We care about love.
We care about love.
So therefore, like we just let go of the whatever drama, whatever upset, and like if someone healed their upset, no one has to care. Like no one cares about what happened there. All that it's cared, it's about the love that has grown there.
Yeah.
It remembers me about like that story, you know, like with the father that has two sons, you know, when one of them just like leaves and goes like into kind of like you know, wastes all his like riches, and then like he comes back, you know, and wants to kind of repent, and like the father, you know, receives him with like the open arms, you know. And I feel like, you know, like it's like the same like in this community, right? Because yeah, you know, you may choose, you know, at some point, you know, make some questionable choices, right? But if you choose love and you truly and honestly desire God in your heart, you know, you truly desire to, you know, come back to God, desire to atone, desire to, you know, desire love above all else, you know, because I think, like, you know, one of the things that we're going through as well in releasing kind of this lens of fear is like realizing like this lens of fear doesn't give us anything, right? Because we might have attachments towards something that fear might give us, you know, but as we realize that that's not true, we can only receive what we desire from God and from love. It's natural that we will all return to this space, and we will all, you know, come together, and everybody will come together in heaven, right? That's the purpose of all.
Yeah. One incident. Yeah, Deb, you have something to share?
Yeah, just a little piece to
Yeah,
add.
go ahead.
I believe that what is important is that for anyone who is watching this and maybe they are new to the group, give yourself the space to explore this community and see if you like, if it's for you, if you fit here, if this is the place that you know will hold your hand as you move forward on your own journey. What I love about this community in particular is that they will always point you back to God.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where you come from, what you say, what you do. They are not going to even push you certain truth about God. They will present it to you, but then they will open the door and invite you to like discover it for yourself.
Yeah.
And this is something that at the beginning, before unionism was born, I was doing in the Intervention group, like in the open forum of Twin Flame Universe. Many times I found myself in that space. It's like, I was having an upset. And are they saying this because they know what they are talking about? Or are they saying this because they are trying to sell me on something? And the fact that they give you the tool to actually know how to navigate through those feelings, and the truth always came back that no, they were pointing me back to God. And so I believe that that helps a lot to relax into the space, especially as Shaleia was sharing at the beginning of her sermon, especially if this is a topic where you've been kind of like hurt or wounded before.
Mm.
Many of us come into this journey because we kind of grew tired of feeling that we weren't finding our own place in the world. So, so I wanted to add that little piece.
Yeah, thanks for adding that. Yeah, one thing, coming to me that was, similar to you is like, today only I got approached by a friend who recently purchased one class from Shaleia, and she is not on Facebook. And that's why she is not there in the discussion group. So I had been inviting her from a long time, but she was just denying that or avoiding that. She was like, I'm okay with the classes. I just don't want to get into community and all this thing. And then god knows how to take care of their child, right? And she has been presented with scenarios where she has been rejected by her community or her friend circle. Okay, it's because similarly what I can see is like once she is coming into this truth vibration, she is very naturally going to repel the people, right, who are not of their energy. So they are just getting released from her system, but at that stage she may not understand that, right? So immediately I presented to her, maybe that god wants you to go to a place where you are loved rather than trying to push yourself on to a relationship where you don't feel accepted. And then she immediately created her Facebook, joined the community, joined the discussion group, and I know she's not going to go back. She, because that's exactly she has been searching for, is like a deep connection, right? What we are desiring, a connection where we are unconditionally accepted the way we are, right? And the truth of us, each one of us is like, there is divine within us, and the community truly sees that, sees divinity within you and constantly guiding you towards that. Just release the ego, what is presented to you, then you are fine, you are closer to divine. So that's how we are growing. Yeah, I felt like maybe god showed me, gave me that piece today, and this is perfectly getting into this sermon. Yeah, anyone wants to share anything? Anything came up? Yeah.
Well, yeah, just about we like when you start to come in this community and you start to see through the lens of love, when someone is just not accepting their divinity, they don't accept that they are love, it's not gonna like you're not gonna be able to kind of see them in that way. You're not gonna be able to. I mean, you're still gonna see the love that they are, but
Mm.
because they don't choose to see themselves as love,
Yeah.
uh, they'll be like,
You have to like respect like your brother and their
Yeah.
choices, right? And I feel like sometimes for us that are in unionists, and we know the truth of each and every son of God, like they are a divine child of God, and they are divine beings. They have like their harmonious union, they have like their perfect union, they have like their life purpose, all of that. And to see them like not choose that, it can be a little bit grueling, but at the same time we have to like respect that and realize that they will be back.
Yeah.
There's nothing, time is an illusion, so in a way
Mm.
we can already feel like the moment when they are back, and we're all in heaven together, right? And this is
Yeah.
what we should like, I guess like focus on, and let everybody, as Deb said, go through their own exploration process, go through
Yeah.
their own journey, and we can just like present to them like the way, right? And I also love that, what you share, like Deb was like, I never heard, Jeff, Shaleia, or anybody from the community being like, no, this is it, you know this is it, and there is nothing else that you can do. You gotta accept it, right? And I was like, no, it's safe to explore. It's safe to just come here and and see what's here, and with an open heart, truly and honestly look at it, right? And then after that, you make your own decisions, you make your own choices, right? And I feel like, a lot of us, agree upon like, like the truth here, right? But at the same time, we cannot like, force it, right? Everybody has to come to their truth, like to the truth, basically, through their own like journey and healing.
Yeah, they have to walk their path. Even Soraya shared that, how the wall up, situation, because we always create our own wall, and we, create a kind of illusionary comfort zone for ourselves, and we feel, that's the world. And then again, making the choices and coming into the space of divinity and love, that's our own journey. Yeah, so yeah, I will say, like, when initially I was in the community, I literally had the same experience. Like, I had a big wall, a lot of, like, specifically whether the dominating one is like, like I'm in a space where I'm completely coming from a very different culture, Hinduism, and this was like I was like minority here. So because there were not many Hindu in this group, but I was really liking and very feeling close to the teaching that I was listening or hearing from them. And the best thing that helped me to break my wall was when I was applying and I was really coming out of the fear. When I was really, when the point comes, like the choice is presented to me, and that time it becomes the tug of war. Like, can I really choose it? Because from my place, I'm still in the fear. Can I really choose it and go forward? And then it was just from my side, okay, let's just make a choice and see. So when I started making choice, and I literally realized that really fear is going away. I'm feeling free, not only in this community, but also around my circle also. It was like I was able to see that really working in my office environment, in my even my family. So I was seeing that when it is actually the fear is going away from me, then I'm able to function in a better way in all aspect of my life. So that actually gave me the confidence. And it was never been like you pushed, like nobody actually forced me to go the, it was like simply this is the way, this is the right way, this is the right choice. And choose and explore and see what is happening with your life, real life. And yes, and yeah, it is always feels good that you create it anyway. You are the creator of your own truth, but making that choice, the right choice that takes you closer to God, that is going to make you free from fear. Yeah.
And just give it like an honest shot. I guess like this is like the only like advice we can give here. It's like just try it. And I know like I went through like exactly like the same process that Madhu shared here with, like, okay, like the mirror exercise, that sounds interesting. Twin flame sounds interesting. Magnification, yeah. Say sounds interesting, right? But is it like really true? Like, is it really gonna change my life? Is it really the path, right? And this is what each of one of us has to come to their own conclusion. And as who are here, I feel like we got to that conclusion because that's why we are talking about it, right? But it's safe to take that path, but you really have to try it, and this is what I, when we first invested into Dream Flame Ascension School, we wouldn't like reach, and we could like spend the money just like that, haha, on a random course on the internet. It meant a lot to us, so like, okay. And I really remember like this moment when we were like together and we were like thinking about like, investing into the school. And it was like, Laurencio, if we do this, like we better like try it. Like it's a lot, but we better like try it, and we never stopped until and because it just worked.
I mean, we were like in a space that we already had a spiritual practice, but we're like, okay, we're gonna surrender everything that we know and take all that there is here. We're kind of like we can say we're going to empty our cup. We're going to just like surrender whatever we knew before, and just going to take this, not going to try to combine them, not going to try to do
Compare
something.
them.
Compare them. We're just going to try this 100% for a couple of months and see what happens. Just that. That's it. And because of that, we achieved a lot of results because of that. Because we didn't try to compare, we didn't try to bring the old stuff that we were doing before in. And as we did more and more, for us it was obvious that it was safe to surrender the old way.
Exactly.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's the same for me. Having read about different like Buddhism, Hinduism, Taoism, coming from a Jewish background, and then like touching upon different stuff. Growing up in a house where my dad will keep like a copy of the Holy Quran and the Holy Bible and the Hebrew version of that, was like already kind of tapping into it. And something that came to me when Alex and Lau were sharing is that it doesn't matter which road you take or how long it takes you to get there. All paths lead to Rome. So you will eventually come to God in your own terms.
Yeah.
And the fact that that you can apply these teachings and still find a balance between the things that you have from before, from your previous experience, and it does align. You get to keep that, and you build up from that, and you kind of like merge it with the teachings, and like you make it your own. And it's nice to have it was spoken, I think it was in the sermon, it was Shaleia herself that said it. The community grows like organically. It's a living, breathing being.
Yeah.
And it grows in each and every one of us that comes here and like gives their gift or share their experiences in whichever way that is. So it's always like little building blocks that get added on.
Yeah.
And everyone gets to enjoy that. And even like find stuff that didn't know. I've been learning a lot from some of the Hindu culture, for instance, some of festivities I didn't know that existed. And now that I can see them through the lens of God, through the lens of truth and love, like I believe that they are one of the most exquisite and wonderful festivities that you guys have. And I wish like countries on the west knew them. So like I don't know, I love this community. It's very rich, and you can like learn from everyone and everything, and like you will still find yourself at home.
Yeah, it feels like home. Exactly. It does not feel like, it's a community and you just come and, be like a guest. It feels like a home. You're actually a, family member, and you are completely accepted and grow with us. Yeah. Anyone wants to share anything, or you feel complete?
I feel complete. I don't know.
Okay.
I feel like just as a conclusion, we could just all give, maybe like why is it important to be part of a spiritual community? Why is like foundational, actually, we could say, like, to be part of a spiritual community, and kind of like this to be like a wrap up, like everything that we have shared until now. And since I'll answer first. I feel like personally, it's the place where I can be myself and grow and explore who I am, explore my relationship with God, explore my relationship with life in general, in a way that I couldn't have imagined before. And what I particularly like enjoy about like unionism is the freedom that I have in that exploration, and that, by just choosing love, I can, just be and just achieve that, you know, deeper and deeper love for God, for
Yeah.
myself, for everybody. And yeah, I'm really grateful to Jeff and Shaleia for building this community and for bringing unionism to light, because it's truly and honestly what I have like searched, you know, my whole life without knowing.
Mm.
But
Mm.
when I found it, I was like, okay, this was it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. What is it for you there?
Well, for me, the importance of having a spiritual community is that you feel you have a support system behind you as you go.
Mm.
For me, I think this has been one of my key elements, is to know that I'm supported in my own journey. It's very difficult to go on your own, sort of like a Lone Ranger. And Soraya was sharing about this. Oh, I can do well on my own, but do you really want to do it on your own?
Mm.
And for me, I knew it was like foundational, like Alex was sharing. To me, it's foundational because we are social creatures.
Mm.
So it is important for you to find a place where you feel you can go to. That if you are going through something, you know where to go. You know that someone will, um, like they will catch you there. They will
Mm.
point you in
Mm.
the right direction when you cannot see it for yourself.
Yeah.
Especially in a journey such as this, which is like uh, grabbing the Ferrari and kind of like going high speed on the highway to your ascension. So yeah, for me that would be pretty much like the core of how valuable it is to find a
Yeah.
spiritual community that you resonate with.
Yeah. 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 And I'll say like I have like in India, it is very like like a common part of life. Like you will see families, they belong to some or other spiritual community. It is not like they are separated from it. So it is a part of it. But what I always desired was like I used to go to temple when it is not crowded. That was always been my private space. I never go to the temple where it is festive time and lot of people are there. So I used to go during that time, and I always used to spend time with the priest in order to understand what knowledge he has. He always, and I have always been fortunate that he always took time and explained me what is Shiva, what is Parvati, and all that thing. So that was from that time itself I was trying to connect with God and understand. And yes, my parents were into a spiritual community. And only thing that was not making me fulfilled or complete is that I was not getting my answer, all my whys. What I was getting was only stories. Okay, and I was not able to apply those stories for myself because those stories were so big. God is so big, is like that I cannot access him. It's like God is so big. And now coming into this community and understanding that I can literally have God with me, as like having a living partnership with God in every moment of life. And this community helps me to see from the perspective of God. And I feel I belong here, and I feel like my values, I resonate with so many people. So that gives me a sense of connection. This is where if I am going to ask someone, I am going to get my answer. And then I see more clarity. The light is shown to me so that I can move forward. It's not like it's so big, it's a mountain, you cannot climb over it. You just take a next step and just next step and go ahead. And that's why I really like this I still am a part of other Hindu community. I love them, and I because I learn from them a lot, and I do have a desire to bridge what I'm learning as a unionism, because the way the scripts have been interpreted in a separation consciousness. But now I have a desire to interpret those scripts from the lens of unionist, like a Hindu unionist. So that's what is my search towards. So let's see how I unfold that. And thank you everyone. Thank you everyone for joining, and thanks for sharing. And the topic itself was so close to everyone, and everybody shared very openly, and thank you very much. See you next week.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.